So anyone who wants to change their lives, who want to be part of this movement of parents striving, doing better for the next generation, we're thinking long term. That's very, very, very important because I don't want my child to have to go single parenthood again. I pray over him every day. I say, things that I have had to contend with, I pray that you never have to contend with that. I don't want to see you as a single dad ever. No pressure. And this is why I pray for you. This is what I'm doing. This is a legacy. This is a story attached to it.
Welcome back to AudioLife and part 2 of my conversation with Sera Koukpaki. The next important relationship that I want to make sure we talk about, which is your son. What has life been like raising your son and being a mother?
Thank you, Carrie. Oh my God, he is wonderful. I know all moms say this about their children. He is amazing. He is Aaron. His name is Aaron. Has been the greatest gift. I don't know. How do I say this? In a way, he saved me.
Yeah.
It sounds unfair because a child shouldn't have to, bear that cross. Because for a long time, I told my dad, listen, I didn't ask to be here. You have to listen to me and give me that emotional need that I need you to meet. So Aaron is very smart. He's a Lego master. He builds amazing stuff, and he has changed. Although I was met with a lot of challenges because of child rearing while having a career, he's been the greatest gift, and I feel like for the past 8 years. Perhaps, since we're being honest, I have maybe overindulged him a bit because I'm like, I never want you to go through any of the things I've gone through. Because by the time I was 9, a lot of the things I've told you about had already happened. So I have been that helicopter parent that would cuddle him quite a lot. And I don't think it's the healthiest way because you do want them to be independent. We could go into the details, but I just remember being super sensitive to the fact that he had to be driven to his dad, on a weekly basis. And he lives 3 hours away. And I'm thinking, oh, I don't want my child on the road. Is it going to be okay? Things like that. But gradually you become more, rational about it. And you just let God do what he needs to do because it's almost as if I was trying to do God's job and say, okay, I'm the only one that can look after this child. I'm the only one that can take care of him the way he should. But I think it got easier as he started to speak and, form thought, and he's very smart. He's very eloquent. So I started to worry less about him spending time in between my place and his dad's place. And you can kind of see here, this is a learning space. You can see that something that goes unaddressed moves on to the next generation. And I subconsciously replicated something I didn't want. I hated. So because I know what it felt like being moved left and right between homes, I overindulge him in a way because I feel guilty quite a lot of the time, and I had to learn to let go of that guilt. It's not, everything that has been thrown at me, from being to court for enforcing silly childcare arrangements, all of that. I think it has built me to the point where I don't recognize myself at times. I still cry, I'm still sensitive, but I think it has caught some of that sensitivity out to think a bit more logically. And I think
Mm.
it does make sense because your child needs that emotional aspect of you in the formative years. I mean, 0 to, I don't know, 5, 7, and then they want to be independent. It's been really, really hard. I could tell you how my day has been today to give you a picture of what really is like, if you don't mind. So
Yeah.
today I woke up. I have a new job. I have a new job that I start next week, God willing. But sometimes there is a certain cash flow issues. So that's where I found myself recently because I haven't worked for coming to 8 weeks now. My last day with the NHS was contracting with the NHS was the 8th of March. So that's a long time for a one income household. And it does have impact on your cash flow. So today I woke up, Aaron was meant to go to school, and I had scheduled this meeting to be at pickup time, which is 3 o'clock. And also, I needed to go and do a site visit for, a potential venue for Empower Parents. And I thought to myself, I don't have a nanny. I don't have the resources. I could write Uber, but where's the money coming from when I haven't even, I haven't started the job. Everything I've been doing so far for Faith has been out of my, wages
Hmm.
because I believe in it so much. It's so personal to me. And the more moms, parents I speak to, the more I hear the need for it,
Yeah.
beside the stats. So I woke up today and I was like, so how are we going to do this? Because I wouldn't be on time to pick you up from school. And that would be child neglect. I don't want to further indebt myself by putting you in childcare and not have the money to pay for it. I could come to an arrangement with the school and use this as your educational moment and take you to site and learn about business. And then you can also shadow me or listen from the bedroom and hear my life story because rarely, ever rarely do I tell you my full story. So I
Hmm.
was very honest in my email that I sent to the school this morning. I said, I'm afraid I've got two business meetings and they're very important to me. And I wouldn't manage doing the morning run and after school run. Is there any way that you could authorize this absence? And I didn't get a reply back because it was very last minute. So, because I thought some money was gonna magically land into my lap to do all of these things, silly faith. I mean, crazy faith, we'll say. So, and that's the difference between where I am now and where I was two
Mm.
years, 5 years ago when it first happened. It was a new environment, new nursery, new job, and everything. And I would panic and wondering how meet my finance obligation, all of those things. But the growth is actually sitting and sending that logical email to the school and say, this is where I am.
Mm.
Can you please help
Hmm.
me and meet me there? Because I believe there's education outside as well, although I'm big on, school, college, university, etc. So I didn't get a reply back. And I had an inkling, you need to phone the school to let them know before you go. So I phoned the school to say, have you received my email? This is where I am. And they said, the receptionist said, Sarah, hold on a second. Mrs. Brasford would like to speak to you. I was like, oh, I'm in trouble.
Oh.
So I had to put my best voice on, my tiny, tiny voice on. So I told Mrs. Bradford what was going on. I could, honesty is the best policy. So
Hmm.
Mrs. Bradford said, well, in the school, we don't kind of do that. And I said, well, this is the last time, please. And then she went on to say, there are a lot of parents in your exact same position. And I said, thank you very much for allowing this. Make sure this doesn't happen again. And I took Aaron to the meeting and we saw the venue. We took the bus to the venue. He listened to the deal, the lady was offering the touring. And I thought, actually, do you know what? Not being able to afford a nanny actually afforded Aaron to come out and see mom in action, starting from the ground, really, with Feifei. And on the way, Aaron said something. I was really sad because I'm the one, when I have money, I don't pinch pennies. That's where my dad
Mm.
does not understand me. I hate
Mm.
counting pennies. I would have Ubered there. But because this is so important to me and I'm in the middle of two things at the moment, we took the bus and he was like, I was quiet. I'm not typically quiet because I had a lot on my mind. And he was like, Mom, you know what? I said, what? And he said, Feifei is going to be very successful. And I got really teary. And I was
Mm.
like, why would you come up with that? And I gave him a hug. But hindsight, I think he was actually giving me a hug because I needed that. So that's how my morning went. Then we dashed back home afterwards, took the bus back, and then this. And I was like, listen, the podcast is starting.
Mm.
Can you make sure that your iPad is turned on down low and you can listen into this? Because I do want you to listen, but he doesn't need any enticing. They do that already. Children, they listen to that. So that's how my day's been, but there have been confirmations in there, like the growth.
Mhm.
By the way, I didn't feel sorry for myself. I was like, wow, there is a change there. And also the fact that Mrs. Bradford said there are a lot of women in your position, and
Mhm.
I'm
Mm.
thinking that doesn't make it normal. Like, and I'll tell you why it doesn't make it normal. It doesn't make it normal because I have this contracting job that I'm starting next week. And for me to have that contracting job, because it's a government job, I needed to go through a certain clearance, right? And then we have the job center there to support people who are looking for jobs, and I was told that they could support me to go through the clearances. But over the past few weeks, I'm told we cannot take you, we cannot pay for your clearances because you're contracting, you're not working in care, etc. And I thought, certainly this is something I would want to tackle as Faith, when we get Faith to where it wants to be, because there are moms
Yeah.
out there, regardless of the situation, whether single mom married, who wants to do better for themselves and for their children. Because when you're doing better financially, mentally, and when you're driven, it's benefiting the government as well. So the fact that I couldn't get that support, and I had to use my credit card to go through the clearances, only to get through the clearances and say, "Oh, we cannot support you to get transport to your work." And I'm like, you'd rather have people on, welfare than people actually like me trying to get out
Mhm.
and do stuff. So I was very frustrated today. But I think there's, as a woman of faith, I think there was a reason for it. There was a reason why everything had to happen. So you guys can get the best out of me, Carrie, Grace. You can get the best out of me and get a raw,
Mhm.
unfiltered version of how my day goes and everything. And it's
Uh,
it. Yeah, I could go into further details, but that gives you an idea. Sorry for the
mhm.
waffles.
No, no, no,
No.
not at all. Very clear picture, and something you say keeps coming to my mind is so much of it. Maybe in hindsight, not too long from now, you're going to think that it's happened for you. So let's we must ask you and hear about Faith It and Empower Parents. It's I've this entire interview, I feel like we were building up to
Yeah.
hearing the work that you're doing. Please tell us and really the audience, because we don't know who's going to be listening to this. Give us a picture of um, the story of Faith It and what you're doing, and then you can even speak specifically about the event Empower Parents that you had mentioned as well.
Thank you, Grace. Thank you, Carrie, for this platform. I really, really appreciate it. Wow. In 2020, I started a blog. Don't we all? I always start with a blog. Now, this blog was called House of Hagar. I didn't really think much of it. Our website developer calls it House of Hagar. Sounds like a clothing line, but believe me, it
Nice.
wasn't a clothing line. It's because I had come across the story of Hagar in the Bible where, she found herself alone in the desert, kicked out. I was really in my feelings at the time, in the thick of it. And Hagar felt that she was alone, abandoned, and she thought Ishmael was going to die. And God showed her a well that had always been there, but she never saw, perhaps because she was too focused on her pain, on everything, just like myself. And I believe then that, whatever the situation, predicament you find yourself in, there's always an opportunity for you to reframe things to make it work for you. In French, we say l'obstacle, l'obstacle le chemin, like the difficulty is the road. And it is indeed the road. So I started House of Agar to really express because I didn't have any friends. The closest friend I had at the time was in Dubai, because single, different, and there. And I was going through childcare drama because I had refused to let my child travel during COVID. I was taken to court, etc. Long story, and it left me in a very, very depressed state. The fact that you conceive is your body and you almost flirt with death giving birth. You stay up during the night, you breastfeed for so many years, your career takes a hit because you are left behind and you have to pay childcare because you are career driven and your partner isn't, and
Mm,
you are the one taking the hit, and all of a sudden to be taken to court because of the child. That's my perspective. He
mm,
would have a different perspective. I felt personally attacked. So, very depressed. Started House of Agar with a view for it to be a global readership, attracting women going through the same thing. Unfortunately, it closed down within 18 months. Again, I was funding all of this myself. And also being a woman of color as well, for the until recently, I never used to address myself as a woman of color until
mm,
recently. Then
Hmm.
started to,
mm,
okay, maybe that's why. Maybe that's why.
mm,
I just move through life as Sarah, for the most part until recently. And yeah, just close down and then change job again. That's the story. I've had many jobs over the last 9, 10 years, and I could dig a little deeper in that later on. So it closed down, and then I became a little bit depressed again. I like the fact that I like to be busy. I like to
mm,
be out doing stuff, but I don't think the result that I wanted was coming through accounting alone. I thought there was always something elsewhere that I
mm,
needed to be making impact, not just counting beans and doing muffin to muffin, rushing to do nursery run, school run, etc. Then I realized I was always the only Black woman on my team.
Hmm.
It
mm,
didn't matter how diverse, the place was. But later on, I found out Black people would be in creative spaces, not in the corporate spaces. That's something I learned much, much later. And then in between 2021 and 2022, I started a company which is now dormant called Black Tax Solution, which the mission was to coach and train Black people to navigate the corporate space because I realized I
Hmm.
didn't have that. I needed that. So basically, anything that I struggle with, I wanted the next person not to struggle with it.
Yeah.
And then I applied for grants, various grants, national lotteries, etc. It wasn't going anywhere. I spoke to my dad, and my dad was like, "Are you indeed serious that you would die? Do you really believe in this, that you would die for this black tax solution? Because it's a huge feat working with, people from our demography is really, really challenging. Are you sure being a single mom, you're willing to take that on? Anyway, that is dormant. It didn't really fare too long. Then I was like, if not that, then what am I going to do in this world? What is it that God is calling me to do? What is my purpose? And then huge depression, therapy started, and my therapist asked me for the first time to draw my timeline. There was a lot of tears. It was ugly. I realized there were many parts of myself that I was disconnecting myself from in order to simply be accepted by people, to fit in because I long to belong, to be,
Mhm.
because I never had that unit family. So it's always the people pleasing aspect. And it was very ugly putting that timeline together and sending it to my therapist. I didn't want to see her after that. And then after 3 years of badgering someone on the Wall Street, I managed to get them to find me a coach in New York. Because believe it or not, I had to learn to live in Britain as British people do. My stepmom is British. My dad had been here for 3 decades. My brother, born in Doncaster in England, moved to Scotland. He'd never been to Africa. So that was my unit I was operating, not in the Black community. If there was one, I don't think there was one in Edinburgh. At uni, I was the
Mm.
only Black person up until maybe third year when an influx of people, Black people, came from London. So obviously, maybe an identity crisis was happening there that I wasn't even aware of.
Mm.
So going through therapy helped me address all of these things. And then Faith launched in May 2023. I didn't know that it was going to be like this. People approached me on LinkedIn as soon as I put it up saying, oh, do you want to build financial muscle, this and that? But what I needed was a community because I felt isolated. I felt like no one understood me. I felt like I'm the only one waking up in the morning, arranging extracurricular activities for my child during the school run, organizing his time with his dad, working 9 to 5, finding the next job when this one doesn't work, studying because I had to study, do my master's in between then, and looking for courses that I could do meanwhile in order to improve my prospects, etc. It did work because I tripled my earnings within a space of 2, 3 years, but as an accountant, you know, route I should have chosen would should have been the entrepreneurial route because the more you earn and the more taxes the higher rate tax comes in, and that completely evaded me for a long time. Evaded me because I had been very poor. Well, my dad forbid me from using the word poor, but yeah, not in a good place financially, on a one income household for so long, and eventually start to, earn better only to be taxed insanely, puts you in a very, very unpleasant place. So I learned that apparently it looks like I learn when I'm doing. So I was isolated. There's no one could understand. People would say, oh, for a Black single mom, you have done well. That kind of mentality. So it's really isolating. Even when I
Mhm.
was only making 28K when my ex kicked me out of his house for the job, even then people thought that for my kind, I was doing well. But
Yeah.
there is something in me that is never satisfied. It's like I can't possibly have lost my mom, changed country, tried to adapt and gone through all of this to be mediocre. There is that hunger in me, and also that need to fit in. But I've accepted that I will never fit in. I stick out like a sore thumb, so I'm embracing that at this point. My old, goofy, funny, infectious laughter. So there's that. So what I needed at the time was a community. So I told the people on LinkedIn, listen, I want to build a community first. I want to see that it's not just me because I've done the start, I've done my research using ChatGPT, a huge Word document, and I now need to see, I need to hear stories beyond, outside of my stories to
Yeah.
see that, faith really exists, it should exist. So the person said, fine, that's fine, build your community. When you're ready to build financial muscle, get in touch with me. So by then, I got myself a coach. I've reached out to different people for mentorship. And Feifei was incorporated in August, and now we have 9 interns, and we are now planning to throw our first inaugural conference. Oh my God, I can't believe it. I'm saying this. No, I can't believe I'm saying this because I had battled so many insecurities. It's like, who are you
Mm.
even to think that you can do this? But my coach, being from New York, complete different mentality. She is very supportive. I wish she was here. She would be so proud for me to actually be telling the story here. She's been super supportive. And people like you, Carrie, have been very supportive. There's not been a shadow of doubt. As soon as I said to you, you brought in people that could help. And I'm really appreciative of that. And yeah, 9 interns, a website, tickets ready, sourcing speakers. It's been a whirlwind of experience learning. And we have a WhatsApp group of 120 parents, moms predominantly, and we hold online events. Last time we had Claudia speaking to the moms.
Did you?
Yes, about healthy habits. Claudia is inspirational, just like yourself, Gary. Honestly, I am blown. My mind is actually blown by the support that I have received so far. And it's funny, it has come from unexpected people, people that I've known for a short period of time. And again, that is a learning curve, getting used to it. I hope I haven't gone off the tangent. Please bring me back to a Carrie if I have.
And now for a word from our sponsors. Ready to share your stories and life philosophy, or capture those of a parent or grandparent? Or maybe a corporate package is right for you to build connection across your workforce and add value to your clients. Visit audiolife.io today to learn more. Our listeners will get 10% off using discount code GIFT10 and order number AudioLife Podcast. AudioLife, where memories find their voice.
No, no. As Grace prefaced, this whole conversation, our whole interview has been building up to what is faith. It explaining, implicitly how it came about, why the mission is so important to you, and empower parents. I'm so excited. I want us to just get a few more specific details for anyone who's listening who thinks that it might be something that resonates with them. So tell us, what's the plan? Who should be there? What are they going to experience? Who are they going to meet? What's going to happen at Empower Parents?
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Carrie. The big vision for Empower Parents is, people call it lofty vision. We're targeting 5,000 people. I don't know how, but this is huge. It makes no logical sense whatsoever. But for us to even be here and put this out, it's already a success. To have the courage to put it out is success. So what I find is, when parents do better, when parents excel, their children do. And I noticed this in my journey so far. Once I started to make more money, I could afford extracurricular activities like rugby, swimming lessons, I don't know, private schooling. Unfortunately, when I lost my job, I had to let go of that. I'm very ambitious for my child. And I'm aware that sometimes it's what children suffer from is the unlived experience of the parent and what the kids do. So I am very big on extracurricular activities. because I didn't get to do them a lot. And I realized in the workspace, in the corporate space, that actually that makes you is who you've played rugby with, who you've played tennis with, who you play golf with, etc.
Mm,
So I realized once I started to excel, if we can call it that at this point, prospects started to open up for my child. And I thought, wait a second, I am sure there are women out there who want the same thing for their children, but they are stuck in the rut because I was once stuck in the rut as well. Hopeless, hopeless, absolutely hopeless. And to get out of that, you need to feel empowered, hence the name Empower Parents. But I was also isolated. I was isolated because in the workplace, you would have the married people club, and then you would have the non married people club, and
mhm.
then you would have those without kids club. And I was falling in neither. So oftentimes you would find me alone eating by myself, rushing out, not participating, and Friday drinks. These are important things. You know, if you have to rush out to do the nursery run, you miss out on these things. And I just remember
Mhm.
particularly this one time where the company was migrating their headquarters from London to Glasgow, and my cohort needed to be present in London. I couldn't make it because of childcare. And this is a huge, huge problem. Is a huge predicament for many, many parents. And you miss out. And I felt as an outsider for the rest of my tenure in the workplace. And I believe that was one of the greatest opportunity for me, really, because I was good at the job. And you know, I could have had a long tenure had I had time, had I had the support at home as a single parent to focus on my career and network, which is really important. But I didn't. I thought, okay, because those were issues for you, you can actually use this. You feel isolated in the workplace, not because of other people, but because of your circumstances. And also at home, when you come tired, it's just you and your child, and you are multitasking a lot of these things. So, what can you bring to this community of moms wanting to do to go as far as you've come and further than you have come? Is to bring this together where you 3 days walkable community when you come in as a parent, whether you are a mom or a dad or not a parent, and you feel like you're aligned with the vision, you can just come and say, I want to maximize my networking capabilities to, for the next 362 days, because I don't get to do it. I can
Yeah.
block these 3 days out to network to the maximum and feel part of the community and feel heard. If you isolate, you beat isolation, because those are the things that I contend with. And as per the stats, many parents, whether married or unmarried, I have cohabited before, and I know that there are married people who experience that as well, because your partner or your husband is working, you're doing the school run. It's manic. Nothing prepares you for that. And you lose yourself. So is it time to come, empower parents, 3 days to come to network? If you don't have childcare, you can still come with your child. We would
Yes.
have a dedicated space for someone to look after your child for you. While you're there, there would be art therapy, there, psychotherapy on day two. Day one is actually for networking and inspiration, people to share. People like you, Carrie, people like Jason, people like Claudia to come and share story and educate people. Day two, again, wellness and education.
Mm,
And day three, you would have your stalls for companies seeking to extend staff tenure, because there are still some companies out there that struggle a lot. There is a huge outlay on diversity and inclusion, but there is something else that happens that needs attention, which is retention, because you're spending money to advertise for the role. You're spending money
Mm-hmm.
to recruit. You're spending money to onboard. You're spending money to train the staff. And picture this: if the person is a parent, for instance, and they come in and you've done all of that, but they do not get the coaching, the mentoring, the support that is required to stay long term, and they leave, that leaves that revolving door where you lose out as a company, and you could get branded as the worst place to work. And then you have your parent who is then back on benefit or some welfare, and that is a gap that we are seeking to bridge with Empower Parents through Faith Aid is the coaching aspect, is the retention aspect. That's the win for the company. We're saving you money there. It's got arms and branches if you think about it, because we're all for the parent well-being, because I didn't have that in the workplace. Yes, I'm resilient, but I needed someone to hold my hand and say, hey, Sarah, I know you can land yourself a job, but I'm here to coach you. I'm here to ask how your day's been. I'm here to have that little chat, because what we find is when people have a friend in the workplace, someone who cares for them, they stay longer and you
Mm-hmm.
save money. And that's that gap that we seek to bridge. And so you are coming as an attendee to the Empower Parent, I'm told not to call it a conference, summit, to network, to be heard, to meet other parents like minded who don't want to be on welfare. There's nothing wrong to be on welfare. I despise being on welfare. So, anyone who wants to change their lives, to want to be part of this movement of parents striving, doing better for the next generation, we're thinking
Yes.
long term. That's very, very, very important, because I don't want my child to have to go single parenthood again. I pray over him every day. I say, things that I have had to contend with, I pray that you never have to contend with that. I don't want to see you as a single dad ever. No pressure. And this is why I pray for you. This is what I'm doing. This is a legacy. This
Yes.
is a story attached to it. So we are now thinking, actually not thinking, planning to do this on a yearly basis every summer.
Yes.
It will grow bigger and bigger and bigger. But again, I'm conscious it's not about the quantity, it's about the quality. It's scalable, and we do have the tools to make it reach a global community. Carrie, I haven't met you, but you've changed my life for the best. For the best, you have. You seriously have. So I believe we can also utilize that to reach our numbers. Yes, we'll have the VIP area, which is the in-person speakers, but we would have to broadcast it to reach them if we must
Yes.
pivot to that. But the idea, which is close to my heart, is I want to see every parent succeeding, because I have friends, if I can call them there, that moms that have, been really kind to me, married, and helped me to do the school run to get to the bus for the child. And they share things with me. The struggle is similar. And so, although we started to serve the single mothers community,
Yeah.
we have expanded it to all parents and anyone willing to align with our mission and our vision, because the struggle is the same. It might be severe for single mothers, but it's the same. It's who is going to look after the child. My career is dying. What am I going to do? All of this thing, the financial struggle. And sometimes when there are two of you, one can lose their job, and then is on one
Yep.
person, all of this planning. So on the day, we will talk about will, writing your will. We
Mm.
will talk about financial planning. We will talk about, obviously, you have your networking, you have your art therapy, you have your networking. You would have Wall Street represented there talking about wealth creation and how to maintain it, how to keep it in your
Mm-hmm.
family. That's really important. So we're not doing this for a quick bucks. We're thinking long term, because everything that I have been through up to now is embedded in this story
Yes.
of faith. Being partially sighted, that I do not use as an excuse, is embedded that, because you need someone to say, because I get migraines sometimes, someone to say, okay, I understand that you have such and such disability. I'm here to support you. I'm here to give you that double screen, etc. Time off if required. That is embedded in Feifei. The fact that you lose grieving,
Yeah.
however early or later, because loss impacts everyone differently. Nothing prepares you for it, regardless of the age. That's embedded in Feifei. I do not condone single motherhood. The thing is, I do not encourage it, but I do not condemn it, if that makes sense. These are things that happen, and it's getting the parent to see, fine, this happened to you, but what happens after that? What happens to your child and their grandchildren? What happens to them going forward? Fine, you've made the mistake. And it took me a long time to accept where I am, to let go of the guilt and to say, fine, this is where you are. But what can you do for the next generation? And that's what I'm trying to get the single moms, the parents to be, and say,
Yes.
fine, so what do we do for the children? So this movement, Empower Parent through Feifei, is to empower parents to think further than their now. I hope I've painted the picture.
For me, you absolutely have. I think it's been very clear. So it's for, initially you had thought about single parents in your situation, but it's for all parents. All parents have that need for similar types of support. They're going through this similar types of journey. There's going to be opportunities for networking. There's going to be opportunities for job searching and connecting with companies. I love the concept of the wellness day. So having that day in the middle to yourself, having the various types of support around you that you need to just have a moment to yourself, and knowing if you've brought your child or children with you, that they're being taken care of as well. It's such an incredible mission. How do the people that want to attend find you and sign up? And you have an opportunity for companies to be involved. So how do they get involved? So tell me about both of those. Where do we go and look?
Okay, so we have a website. It's Feifei. Now it's spelled differently. www.faith as in faith in God, hyphen eight, the
The
number
number
eight,
8. Yep.
no IET. So that's something that we're working around, because by the time we go to the domain, someone had already purchased it. And so we couldn't afford to buy £1,500 worth of a domain. We thought,
This
okay, let's
year.
be
This
lucky.
year. But you
Yeah,
can add it next year.
precisely. Yes, thank you so much. So there's that, and we are trying to build still our credibility online. You can find me on LinkedIn. It's Sera Koukpaki, Sera, and my surname is Koukpaki. Is Koukpaki. And from there, it actually takes you to the website. You can get your ticket on the website as well. We are on Instagram. We had to start from scratch
Mm-hmm.
because I posted so much rubbish there that prior to being acquainted to my actual purpose, on this earth. So my team, we now have 24 followers on our new page. We are on Facebook as well, and on TikTok, and I think TikTok apparently is being shut down. I'm not sure what's going on with that.
Yeah, I hear the same. Yeah, we'll see.
Fingers crossed. And for companies, we've been reaching out to companies. Companies can just look on the website and discuss the various packages that
Okay.
we have. If they want to partner with us and sponsor us, we have the gold package, the platinum, etc., where you want your signage, etc. There's a law. We can set up calls to discuss. It's got branches, and I find it really
Mm-hmm.
exciting. I particularly have never been diagnosed with being on the spectrum, but the way it's just massive. Every day I wake up, I see a bigger and bigger and bigger, and it is scary for me, and that's why I'm so grateful to have the right people around me, to be acquainted with you, Carrie. I'm sure we will meet in person, and yeah, I think it's a beautiful journey, and
It
working
is.
full time and all of this it's not gonna be without challenges, but
Yep.
Yeah, hope I've
Uh,
answered your question.
you absolutely have. You've told an incredible story. So I'm on the website right now. So faith8.com. So FAITH dash the number 8.com. And I can see the empower button right up at the top. And that tells me all about the event, the summit. There's some beautiful things on here. So be heard and beat isolation, feel inspired and empowered, meet your next prospective employer, participate in lifestyle and well-being workshops, and bond with your kids with exciting activities. And there's so much more in here. So I can see how I would be able to easily register, and also the corporate section as well. So for anyone who's listening who has an organization that aligns with the mission, that is looking for an excellent way to recruit and retain staff, this is an event to consider and to attend. So thank you for all of that. You've told an incredible story, and I know Grace said this earlier in our conversation, that there's so much more that we want to talk about. There always is, but you've shared such an incredible journey. You said the words right at the beginning: a journey of resilience, a journey that was adventurous, a person who today, maybe not in your earlier years, you may have said it differently, but somebody who's bold, and somebody who's forever evolving. You've turned your experiences into a mission-driven company, as well as a summit that's going to reach 5,000 and probably much broader than that online and going into the future. As you said, putting it out there is already success. It hasn't happened yet, but the mission is for it to happen not just this year, but every year following, and to bring this community together. So I can't thank you enough for sharing this. And again, I mean, I would love to keep talking, and we will offline. But before we wrap up, is there anything else that you really wanted to share that we haven't touched on?
God, Carrie, I was going to apologize for oversharing.
We don't want to hear an apology. We invited you here for the sharing, and you've been excellent at it.
I was thinking, oh my God, I'm going to walk out of here slightly embarrassed and then type an email and say, Carrie, I'm so sorry. Did I overshare?
No, you're not. No, I don't want to cut you off, but I do want to jump in, because you've talked both through these concrete experiences, but also just intellectually about this idea of belonging, right? That you're looking for acceptance, and you're looking for belonging. And the thing is, I think that, I've seen this over and over, that when people want to fit in and they don't feel like they perfectly fit in, it's because you stand out. It's because you're leading and you're standing out. And yes, you may not see all of the same people that look like you, or all of the same people that have the exact same journey as you. But part of the reason you don't see them and you haven't met them yet is because we aren't always sharing these stories. You've had points in your life where you were reluctant to share who you really are and what you've really experienced. And you've had points in your life where you're looking for those other people that you really feel like you can connect with, that you feel, at least in one aspect of your day and your journey, that they understand it, right? I think you used those words earlier, that your mother was somebody who really understood, and you had this other really important friend who just understood. And that's why it's so important that you're here today sharing this, because, while your story is so unique and really incredible, there are aspects of it that other people will completely understand, and that they have experienced, and they haven't seen and heard others sharing it and showing it. And it's part of why Empower Parents is so important, to bring people together. That networking is so much more powerful than just the word networking, right? It's that connection. It's beating isolation. It's finding the support that you may need, but also those people around you who can just say, you know what, it's okay, or you did exactly what we wanted you to do, or it was wonderful, or it was really, really hard. And maybe we stop with it was really, really hard, or maybe we take the part of what you've been through, part of those learnings, in that perspective of, it was hard in the moment, but it was for me, and it was for me because look at what I'm able to do at this point in my life, because I've had these experiences and because I've had this motivation. So I really can't thank you enough for sharing today.
Thank you so much, Carrie. Thank you so much. And I I feel like sometimes as well, looking back at myself in the thick of it, because I have more confidence now, than I did 2, 3, 4, 5 years ago. And looking back, because I was in distress, not knowing, it was more the disappointment of not achieving my only dream. I think I highlighted this.
Yeah.
My dream was always to belong, to be part of a family that was unified under the same roof. I've idealized that for a
Yeah.
long time. It took me a long time to now accept, okay, this is it. But I don't want the next family going through it. When
Yeah.
I meet another single parent or another child going through it, it hurts me. I'm
Yeah.
like, come on, we've got to do better. So that it was my only, in fact, ever dream was to join a family in the UK,
Yeah.
whichever shape, way, or form it was, family unified. My dad, my stepmom together with my brothers under the same roof and having that experience and also being able to give it to my child. So, and I think because of all those internalized things, and again, my own experience, attempt having my own, and I wasn't able to, it kind of put me in a space where maybe wasn't able to fully tap into my gift and see how I really was able to place myself in the world in certain groups. And I think this is also why faith is important, because if I had someone, a parent or someone going through that same thing, it came to me,
Mm-hmm.
hindsight, I can look in hindsight, I can now advise them and say, listen, this is where you are now. But how can we get you to see how you can better navigate spaces that you are in to really meet the people that you are
Yes.
around, to see how you fit in the puzzle and what you bring there, because I was so focused on my pain. The pain's still there, it doesn't go away, but now I have purpose. So I think
Yes.
sometimes when we focus so much on the bad things that have happened to us, we forget about the good things and the gift that those things bring through experience to our life that we can use to help others. So I
Yeah.
think that's where I am now, and I'm still learning. So every now and then I look at my old pictures in my 2 year 3 years old in my African garment, saying, okay, who's this?
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. You've shared so much wisdom with everyone listening today and with me today. You are, in the words of Grace, you are an incredible storyteller. You vividly allow us to visualize what you're sharing with us and what you've experienced and who that person is and all of those people in the story. It's been really meaningful for me, an honor to be able to have this conversation with you and to learn more about your amazing experiences in life. So I just want to thank you.
Thank you so much, Carrie. Thank you for allowing me to do this. You're amazing.
Oh, as are you. No, it's been an absolute pleasure. Of course, I also want to say a special thank you to our guest host today, who is Grace Chen. Grace, thank you for sharing your time with us and bringing your insight to the conversation as well.
Thank you, Grace.
You've been listening to AudioLife Podcast today, where we tell your story in your voice. I've been your host today, Carrie Purcell, joined by co-host Grace Chen. If you like what you heard today, don't forget to subscribe, like, and follow us. You can find us on your favorite podcast app, see our videos on the YouTube channel AudioLife Memoirs, or learn more about our private podcasting service on audiolife.io. See you next time.
If you like what you heard today, consider recording your own AudioLife private podcast or giving one to a loved one for a unique and memorable gift. Today, AudioLife listeners will receive 10% off using discount code GIFT10 and order number AudioLife Podcast. Also, remember to rate our show and subscribe so you'll never miss an episode.